You think women are leaving because they just didn't see your value? Wrong. They saw your value and they judged it unworthy. Brutal truth. You are doing things right now that push them away, slowly, silently, until they disappear like you never existed. You've been told it's about being nice, authentic, or patient. That's a lie. This isn't about kindness. This is about power, or the absence of it. And right now, you're bleeding power. Let me show you how to stop. Today we're going full Machiavelli, cold, calculated, and unshakable. Listen carefully, because once you hear this, you can't unhear it. The hidden disease. Weakness is not always obvious. You don't need to be crying in the shower or begging on your knees for a woman to sense it. Weakness has a smell, and women have a sharper nose for it than you think. They pick it up in your tone, in the hesitation before you speak, in the way you seek approval with your eyes before you finish a sentence. That approval seeking is the rot in your foundation. You think it makes you agreeable. It makes you disposable. Here's Machiavelli's first law of attraction. People are drawn to power, not permission. The moment you position her as the judge of your worth, the trial is already over. She's seen the verdict, and you lost. You need to understand, most men lose women before they even get them. They show neediness in the first text. They reveal insecurity in their first laugh. They leak desperation through compliments that sound like worship. And she feels it, not in her mind, but in her instincts. It triggers something deep. If this man can't control himself, how can he protect me? How can he lead me? How can he be trusted? The second Machiavellian law. Never give your power for free. This doesn't mean you become cold to everyone. It means your warmth is rare, your approval scarce, your attention earned. When you live like this, women don't drift away, they orbit. They wonder about you when you're gone. They replay your words in silence. They respect you because you respect your own boundaries without apology. Stop being the man who waits for permission. Become the man who decides. Not with arrogance, not with noise, but with quiet, unshakable certainty. The masculine frame of steel. A man's frame is everything. Your frame is your mental fortress, the lens through which you interpret the world, and the shield that filters what gets to you. Most men have no fortress. Their emotions are wide open, exposed, and ready to be invaded at the first sign of disapproval. That's why they're tossed around like leaves in the wind, reacting to every text, every look, every sigh from a woman. They call it being in touch with their feelings. I call it voluntary weakness. You cannot lead, inspire, or seduce from a position of instability. Your frame must be so solid that a woman's mood swings, her tests, her silences, none of it penetrates. She must feel that no matter what she does, your mind remains unmoved, your purpose remains unshaken. That's when curiosity is born. That's when respect grows. Here's the Machiavellian truth. People only follow those they believe cannot be swayed. If you bend too easily, you break. If you explain yourself too often, you dilute your power. If you react emotionally every time someone challenges you, you've already surrendered your crown. Masculine stoicism is not coldness, it's control. It's the ability to choose when and how you respond without the compulsion to spill every thought, every insecurity, every fear. And here's where most men destroy themselves. They mistake emotional vomiting for intimacy. They think being open will bond her to them. In reality, she files every insecurity you confess into a silent mental ledger. And over time, she loses faith in your ability to stand when the storm comes. The Machiavellian man is not a closed book, but he decides which chapters are read and when. He reveals himself strategically, not impulsively. His validation comes from his mission, not her mood. And because of this, he becomes rare. And because he is rare, he becomes valuable. Your job is not to keep her happy every second. That's the task of a court jester, not a king. Your job is to live so deeply in your own mission that she feels privileged to walk beside you. That is the steel frame. That is untouchable power. The subtle signs. You're already losing her. Loss doesn't start the day she walks away. It starts long before, in small, almost invisible fractures you ignore because you're too busy being comfortable. Women rarely leave in a storm. They leave in a slow fade. And here's the dangerous truth. By the time she's physically gone, she's been mentally gone for months. You didn't notice because you were distracted by the surface, the smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, the kiss that felt routine instead of electric, the way her phone became an extension of her hand when she used to never check it around you. She starts agreeing less. She laughs at your jokes out of habit, not instinct. She asks fewer questions about your day. She touches you less, not in a dramatic withdrawal, but in subtle surgical cuts to the intimacy. These are not random changes. They're her subconscious detaching, preparing for the exit. And if you're weak, you'll respond with panic, overcompensating with gifts, validation, and desperate promises to do better. That is gasoline on the fire. Why? Because it confirms her suspicion. You were coasting. You were comfortable. You weren't leading. You were leaning on her attention to feel like a man. This is the Machiavellian moment of truth, the one who needs less controls, more. If her pullback sends you into emotional chaos, you've just revealed that your stability depends on her. That is the biggest red flag a woman can see. She can forgive mistakes. She can forgive flaws. But she cannot forgive weakness that requires her to carry the weight of your identity. That's when she starts seeking emotional shelter elsewhere, not always with another man, but with friends, hobbies, distractions that keep her away from you. The Machiavellian response is not to beg, chase, or prove. It's to sharpen. When you sense distance, you don't collapse. You return to your mission with double the focus. You make her feel the absence of your attention instead of drowning her in it. You become more unpredictable, more self-directed, more dangerous in your self-improvement. You force her subconscious to remember why she was drawn to you in the first place. Your power, not your dependence. And if she still leaves, you let her. You never chain yourself to someone who's already halfway out the door, because the moment you try to cage her, you reveal that you cannot survive without her, and that to a woman's instincts is death to attraction. Understand this. Women are not repelled by imperfection. They are repelled by the sight of a man unraveling over them. Keep your frame. Keep your silence when it matters. Let absence speak louder than words. Because in the chessboard of desire, the man who doesn't flinch is the man who always has the next move. The law of emotional scarcity. Understand this. In the realm of power and attraction, the rarest resource is not money, not status, not even looks. It is emotional scarcity. It is the discipline to withhold your emotional energy until it is earned and to deploy it with precision instead of scattering it like loose change. Most men drown women in attention because they think abundance will secure affection. They believe constant reassurance will build loyalty. It does the opposite. The moment your emotions become too available, they lose value, just like a currency in oversupply. Scarcity drives demand. This is not just economics, it is human instinct. The Machiavellian man does not become emotionally frigid. He becomes intentional. He treats his validation as a weapon, not a habit. He knows that the more a woman must work to earn his approval, the deeper she values it. Here's the fatal mistake you've been making. You are showing up to her court every day, throwing entertainment, gifts, praise, and availability at her feet, and then wondering why she treats you like a jester instead of a king. The king does not chase. The king summons. He grants audience when it serves the kingdom, not his neediness. Emotional scarcity is not about manipulation. It is about self-respect so unshakable that you refuse to give your deepest energy to those who have not proven they can handle it. When you master this, you become magnetic. She leans in when you speak because she knows you don't speak to impress. You speak to command. She treasures your time because she knows you don't give it lightly. She feels the thrill of earning your attention instead of the boredom of knowing it's guaranteed. But here's where most men fail. They try to fake scarcity while still internally desperate. Women sense this instantly. Real scarcity comes from living a life so full, so mission-driven, that her presence is a privilege, not your oxygen supply. When you operate from this position, something powerful happens. You stop fearing loss. And when you stop fearing loss, you stop bending, chasing, and performing. You stand, and when you stand, she follows. That is the law. And this law does not just keep women attracted, it filters out the ones who never valued you to begin with. So the next time you feel the urge to flood her with attention in hopes of pulling her closer, stop. Make her step forward into your world. Make her feel the space where your attention used to be. Scarcity will either make her chase, or it will reveal she was never worth the chase in the first place. Either way, you win. The dangerous power of silence. Silence is the weapon weak men are afraid to use, because they fear what happens when they're not constantly explaining themselves, defending themselves, or filling the air with noise to keep her comfortable. But in the Machiavellian arsenal, silence is not absence, it is pressure. It is the invisible force that makes others reveal their weaknesses while you reveal nothing. Understand this: words are currency, and the more you spend, the less each word is worth. Most men talk themselves into weakness. They over-explain decisions, apologize for things that require no apology, justify boundaries as if they need permission to exist. Every unnecessary word is a leak in your armor. Silence fixes this. When a woman tests you, you don't need to argue your position. You hold it. When she throws emotional bait, you don't bite. You watch. When she demands an immediate answer, you pause, because kings do not respond on demand. This is not about passive aggression, it is about control. Your restraint forces her to sit with her own thoughts, to feel the space where your instant validation used to be, and that discomfort makes her value your eventual words more than the man who floods her with instant reactions. Here's the truth. Most attraction is not built in the moments you're talking. It's built in the moments you're not, when she wonders what you're thinking, when she replays her own words in her head because you didn't react the way most men would, when she realizes your mind is not an open book to be read at will, it's a locked chest, and she only gets glimpses when you choose. Machiavelli understood that power often comes from withholding, not giving. The enemy will always reveal themselves if you remain still long enough. The same is true in relationships. Give someone enough silence, and they will show you exactly where their loyalty, respect, and attraction truly stand. Weak men can't handle this because silence feels like a loss of control to them. In reality, it is the purest form of control, because you are dictating the pace, the tone, and the depth of the interaction without lifting a finger. When you master this, your presence alone carries weight. You no longer need to win with charm or constant validation. You win because you make her earn every word, every insight, every emotional drop you give. And when she earns it, she treasures it. Remember, silence is not emptiness. It is the sound of your power. The art of controlled detachment. Controlled detachment is the art of caring without clinging, investing without overextending, and walking away without hesitation when the balance tips. Weak men hear the word detachment and think it means being cold or indifferent. They confuse emotional control with emotional absence. That's not what I'm talking about. Detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. It is loving with intention, but never to the point where you lose the ability to act in your own interest. Machiavelli would tell you, a man must be willing to cut off the hand he cannot save. And in relationships, that means you must never tie your identity so tightly to a woman that her departure destroys you. You can enjoy her beauty, her company, her energy, but she must remain a complement to your life, not the core of it. This is where most men fail. They get a taste of connection and abandon their mission. They start reshaping their days to orbit her, putting her comfort above their own principles and sacrificing discipline for affection. The more they give without boundaries, the more their value bleeds out. She begins to sense that she is no longer with a man who chooses her, she is with a man who needs her, and the moment need replaces choice, attraction dies. Controlled detachment reverses this. It says, I am here because I want to be, not because I have to be. It says, if you cross my boundaries, I will not argue, I will vanish. That quiet readiness to walk away is not cruelty. It is strength. It tells her you are self-sufficient. It tells her your life has depth beyond her. And that awareness, whether she admits it or not, forces her to treat you with a level of respect most men will never see. Detachment also sharpens your perception. When you are not desperate to keep her, you can actually see her clearly. Her actions, her patterns, her truth. You're no longer blinded by the fear of loss, so you spot red flags early and adjust accordingly. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as playfulness, manipulation disguised as love, and if she leaves, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't collapse, you simply return to your mission, and in doing so, you remind her, and yourself, that your value was never dependent on her presence. Controlled detachment is not about rejecting love. It's about refusing to become enslaved by it. And once you master it, you become immune to the emotional chaos that destroys weaker men. You become a man who cannot be owned, and in a world full of dependency, that makes you dangerous. How to pass her tests without saying a word. Every woman will test you, not because she's cruel, but because she's wired to verify your strength. These tests aren't always obvious. They might come as a sarcastic comment, a delayed reply, a subtle challenge to your opinion, or a sudden withdrawal of affection. Most men respond with defensiveness, irritation, or an endless stream of explanations. That is a fatal error. The purpose of these tests is to expose cracks in your armor. If you react emotionally, you confirm you are easily rattled. But the Machiavellian man understands that true power is often displayed in what he does not do. When a woman challenges you, she's not looking for a flawless answer. She's looking for evidence that your composure cannot be broken. That's why the most devastating way to pass a test is to maintain calm, unshaken presence without rushing to defend yourself. If she mocks your ambitions, you don't lecture her on your vision. You smirk because you know your results will speak louder than debate. If she ignores a message, you don't double text. You carry on with your day, showing her your attention is a privilege, not a leash. If she throws jealousy bait, you don't overreact. You remain unmoved, forcing her to realize she has no control over your emotional state. Silence, stillness, and a steady gaze are often more powerful than 1,000 words. They tell her you are a man whose confidence is rooted in reality, not performance. And here's the deeper psychology. When you do not react, you flip the test back onto her. She begins questioning her own approach, wondering why her tactics don't work on you, and that curiosity is the seed of attraction. Weak men take every test as a personal attack. Powerful men treat them as opportunities to reinforce their frame. You don't win her respect by passing every test flawlessly. You win it by refusing to let those tests dictate your emotions. And in doing so, you teach her something most women rarely encounter: a man whose self-worth is untouchable. That is the man who becomes unforgettable. That is the man she cannot help but respect. And here's the ultimate secret. If you can pass her tests without saying a word, you'll find that over time, she stops testing altogether, because she's realized you are not a man she needs to doubt. Commanding space in every room you enter. Before a single word leaves your mouth, the room has already judged you. Most men waste years believing that respect is earned only through conversation. Wrong. Respect begins the moment you are seen. Machiavelli understood that perception is reality. If you are perceived as powerful, you are treated as powerful. Commanding space is not about arrogance or aggression. It's about broadcasting, without words, that you are a man who moves with intent and expects to be noticed. This starts with posture. Your spine straight, shoulders relaxed but wide, head level, not tilted down in submission or craned up in false superiority. You walk with measured steps, never rushing as if the world dictates your pace. You make eye contact that lingers just long enough to signal confidence, but never long enough to drift into challenge unless it's necessary. In a crowd, you position yourself where you can see the room and be seen, never trapped in corners like prey. You claim physical space without apology, whether by the way you stand, the way you rest your arms, or how you set your belongings, and you speak only when you have something worth saying. The man who fills silence with nervous chatter dissolves his presence. The man who lets silence sit while he surveys the room becomes the axis others unconsciously orient around. Clothing is part of this arsenal, not as a billboard for brands, but as an extension of your frame. Fit, clean, deliberate. Even subtle details, a well-kept watch, shoes polished, a faint but distinct scent, send signals that you are intentional in every aspect of yourself. When you interact, you don't lean in desperately, you let others lean toward you. Your voice stays steady, low, and paced. Fast talk betrays insecurity, slow precision radiates control. And here's the deeper psychological truth. Commanding space makes you rare because most men shrink in public. They hunch to avoid attention. They speak too softly. They move as if apologizing for existing. When you reverse that instinct, not by being loud or invasive, but by standing as if you belong everywhere, you trigger a primal recognition in others. This man is a leader. Women sense it immediately. They may not articulate it, but they feel drawn to the gravity you create. Men feel it too, and though some will respect it and some will resent it, all will register it. And the beauty of this power is that it multiplies. The more you command space, the more others reinforce your authority through their reactions, creating a feedback loop of presence and influence. Walk into every room like it is already yours, not because you demand it, but because you have trained yourself to move like a man who belongs anywhere. That is how you own the air without ever raising your voice. Becoming untouchable. Untouchable is not a look. It's not a gimmick. It's not a mask you wear until she believes you. Being untouchable is a state of existence, built brick by brick, decision by decision, until your value is no longer negotiable. It means you are a man whose mind, mission, and self-respect stand above the fluctuations of any relationship, any opinion, any setback. It means your emotions serve you, not the other way around. Most men live like leaves in the wind, tossed by her moods, her approval, her presence or absence. The untouchable man is the wind. He is the force that moves others, not the object being moved. To get here, you must combine everything we've spoken about. The steel frame, the emotional scarcity, the mastery of silence, the discipline of controlled detachment, the ability to pass tests without flinching, and the authority to command space without a single word. But here's the truth. None of it matters if you lack one thing: consistency. Power is not built in bursts of discipline when you feel inspired. It's built in the boring repetition of self-mastery when no one is watching. You cannot be unshakable in public if you are weak in private. You cannot command respect from others if you can't even command yourself out of bed with purpose. Untouchable men have standards that do not bend, about how they work, how they train, how they speak, how they treat themselves. And because they refuse to negotiate with their own weakness, no one else dares to negotiate with them either. When you reach this point, you no longer fear loss because you've already proven to yourself that you can rebuild, replace, and rise higher from anything. You become immune to manipulation because nothing anyone can give or take changes who you are at your core. That is why women respect you, why men follow you, and why enemies tread carefully around you. You are not reactive. You are not desperate. You are not controlled. You are inevitable. And the moment you become inevitable, you become dangerous in the most disciplined way possible. This is your challenge. Stop playing defense with your life. Stop living in reaction to what others do. Become the man who decides the pace, the tone, and the direction of his own existence. Do this, and you won't have to chase respect, love, or loyalty. They will chase you. Now tell me in the comments, what is the first weak behavior you're cutting from your life today? And remember, like this video, subscribe to Psygorithm, and turn on notifications because the world is full of noise. And here, we only speak power.